Hello and welcome to the very first Killer Fox digital drawing tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how I do my After Effects and lighting and so forth after I'm done actually drawing the picture. So I'm just gonna open one of my pics over here. Like that. Now I'm using Photoshop Elements 8. Why am I using this? Because I got this together with my drawing tablet, so it's a paid version, so I can't get any legal fees for using a cracked version or something like that. So yeah, it's not really that different from any other Photoshop once you get used to it. So I find it good. Now what we got here is a semi-done picture. I'm not gonna use a full picture because they're already done. So I'm using this so as to show you what I do once I'm actually done drawing the picture. Now the first thing I want to do is see if I want this sharper or if I want this more smudgent. So I'm gonna do like this. I take the layer over here, I draw it here so as to duplicate it, so I have a copy of it. What I do then is that I go to Filter and Blur, Gaussian Blur. Now I'm not gonna actually do this effect. I'm just gonna do this to check something. What you want to do is you want to pull this up so far as you can still see the picture, but just barely. So you can just find out what it is. So for this picture, around 30 sounds good. You have to experiment with that with different pictures, but for this one it's around 30. Now don't click OK, just click cancel. Remember what your number was, then click cancel. Now you go to filter again, then you choose, let's see, other and high pass. Now remember what number you had with the Gaussian blur, because that's the number you're going to use here. So 30, around 30, and then click OK. And don't be afraid when this looks pretty freaky, because it's supposed to look like this. We're not done yet. Now you go back to blur and Gaussian blur, and then you take a third of the amount that you had in high pass. Since we had 30 in high pass, we'll have 10 in Gaussian blur. Now you click OK. So this looks pretty freaky, yes I know, but now you're going to take this layer and change it from normal to overlay. As you can see, you get a very sharp picture. This is without it, this is with the effect. So if you want more contrast, more sharpness, this is what you want to do. Now, if you want something else, if you want to blur it up, maybe make it a lot softer, what you do then is you invert this clip. You invert the layer. So if you have a Mac, it's Command I as the short route, or if it's a PC, it's I don't really know. I think it's the same, but you'll find out. You can do it manually otherwise, but Command I for Mac. As you can see, it gets a lot more blurred. Sort of glow towards it from it. So here's with it, here's before, with and before. Now what I want to do is I want this glow, this blur, but no, I don't want it everywhere. So I'm just going to take a rubber, natural size there, not 100%, that like it's usually at, around 50, sounds good. Now I'm gonna scrape away this layer over here with the rubber where I want it to be more solid. So I'm just gonna zoom in. I want the flames to be more solid, so I'm just gonna scrape away some of this on the actual flames. You can't really see much now when you're zoomed in, but it makes a difference. It does in the long run when you see it as a whole. Now all these detailed work with the scales, sort of, I want those to be somewhat sharpy too, so I'm just going to scrape away from here too. Zoom in a bit. There you go. Now you can see where I've actually taken it away. And as you can see, where I have not scraped away, you still get this glow. But where I scraped away, you keep some sharpness. Now if you want something even more sharper, if you want the places that you want even sharper, then you do this again. So you just merge these layers, merge visible. You do another copy of it. Go to filter, high pass, around 30. Now skip the blur part with the Gaussian blur because you're not going to blur them. That's for the glow. This is just for the sharpness. So you go directly to making this an overlay. Now everything's sharper. So once again, we're gonna take the rubber and we're gonna scrape this away from the parts that we want to be somewhat blurred. And like I said, when you're this close, you can't really see the difference that much, but it makes a difference once you zoom out. So just scraping away this. There you go. Once again, you see where I'm taking it away. You see with and without. So that's the difference. Now that I'm done with this, I'm going to merge these two again. Now what I like to do is I like to go here to enhance and adjust color and go to hue saturation and play around with that a bit. Always makes some difference. You might find something that you like better. First of all, it's a great thing if you just drawn something, you colored it, and you're not happy with the colors. You go over here and then you play around with the colors. This is usually better when you have the specific color you want to change in a different layer. Now I have everything in one, but you can still find some difference that you like. And here you have saturation, meaning how much color you want to add to it. So if you want it grayer, you just pull that down. If you want it even stronger in color, then you just pull it up. You play around with that till you find something you like. Here's just light. Seeing as everything is in one layer, we're not going to play around with that. It doesn't make a difference. Around here is a setting I like. You play around with it. You see what you find good for the eye. Have it nice and zoomed out so you can see the picture as a whole. Click OK. After this, I'm going to go back to Enhance, adjust Lighting, Brightness, Contrast. Here, like before, play around, but just try to find what you like. As you can see, you can change how bright the picture is going to be. If you want a real dim lit picture, you just pull down brightness. If you want it strong, like out in a field with the sun glowing over your whatever you've drawn, you pull this up. So you find what you like, and then you add or subtract contrast, making the blacker blacker and the whiter whiter, so you get more shadows while pulling up contrast and less shadows while putting it down. Now you play around with these two. Make sure both are in sync with what you like. So I'm just gonna pull this down a bit, pull up the contrast around here, like so. There you go. As you can see, makes a bit of difference. Now that you've done all this, we are going to wait. Yeah. And yeah. Now that you've played around with all these, there's one final thing that I like to play around with to get the contrast I like. And what you do then is that you take your layer, duplicated like before, then you just take filter, blur, Gaussian blur again, and you play around with this depending on how much of a glowy feel you want, but around there would be nice for me. There you go. Now you take this and you take it to soft light. As you can see, you get a whole new set of contrast to the picture. Total difference. Then you play with the opacity to see how much of this you actually want. So this is not at all, this is a lot. So I'm reckon around here would be good. And then, like before, you merge them. Yeah, so these are the basic things I do once I'm done drawing the picture. You play around with all these effects and see what you like, see what fits the picture, and you try to make it work. So this has been all for me this time. I hope to see you again soon, and I'll be sure to post more pictures, videos, and everything. Go check out my DeviantArt. You have all the links in this channel. Yeah, bye.